dedication by Commissioner Goodman, then join us for the pledge.
Let us stand. Gentlemen, remove your covers, please. Let's bow. Our Father and our God in heaven, we come to Thee, and we thank Thee for all the many blessings that You've bestowed upon us. We ask You to guide us as we make decisions tonight for the benefit of the citizens of Camden County. We pray for peace. We pray for healing where there is illness. We pray for the safety of those in uniform who stand in the breach between us and danger. Father, we ask that You consider all of our needs and make sure that You understand we are grateful for everything You do for us. All of these things we ask in Thy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, Katie.
All commissioners are present.
All right, are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and second to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to the approval of the minutes. Now, Katie made some changes earlier today. If there's no other changes to the February 4th public hearing and regular meeting, can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself. I did not attend that meeting.
I didn't read the changes, guys.
The change was just to the county administrator's report. The sentence was just incomplete.
We're talking about at the February 4th meeting or the public hearing?
The minutes are for the regular
Oh.
meeting of February 4th, I
It's
believe.
for both,
I thought it was a public
No.
hearing that you're talking about.
It's
If
for both.
Okay.
public hearing and the regular
I
meeting.
can vote on the regular meeting, but
But
not the public hearing.
We had a public hearing the night of February 4th during the regular meeting. You're referring to the public hearing that was held on Thursday? Yeah, I haven't put those minutes out yet.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All right, got first and second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Boy's fast.
All right, this brings us to our presentation. We're going to recognize the fire rescue personnel. Who's doing that? Is Chief?
Good evening, Commissioners and citizens. On January the 8th, we had an active shooter incident there on Kinlaw Road, and I think a lot of y'all may be familiar with it. But I want to take the time to recognize two special firefighters that was in harm's way of that incident. Some people run from danger, then there are those who run towards it. Not because they have to, but because others need them to. Tonight, we honor two men who made that choice. When responding to an active shooter emergency, they didn't hesitate. They stepped into harm's way knowing the risk, but refusing to stand by while others were in danger. I lost my spot. Sorry about that. In those critical moments, they embodied the highest virtue of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. They stood as shields for the innocent, as guardians of safety, and beacons of courage. It is with great honor and deep gratitude that we present this certificate of valor to Sergeant Charles Darby and firefighter LaShawn Bermudez for their outstanding valor, their action save lives. Their courage inspires us all. Would y'all please come forward? They want you to put your one at a time.
Let's go get a photo made.
Darby, is your family here? They need to come up. I should have looked at them.
Thank you, Chief Smith and Chief Boyette. Thank you, Darby and Bermudez. I know you guys endured some things that most people will never have to endure. And that's a testimony to the bravery, the courage that you all exhibited that evening. Commissioners, one other thing that we'd like to do is recognize some of our other fellow agencies that also supported this endeavor, as well as several of our other firefighters who was also in engagement with us that evening. And listen, guys, I'll tell you, there's not, I'm going to echo Chief Smith's comments. I don't know how many people's ever been shot at, but to have the bravery and the courage to not run from, but to run towards, or even drive towards, Bill, I see you in the back there. It's just amazing. The testimony, just the courage and the bravery that we have of our public officials here in Camden County, it's just beyond words. You just don't see that everywhere. Being shot at is not fun, especially when it's in your own backyard. Being in war is one thing. Having it done in your own backyard with people that you grew up with, family members, friends, is totally different. So I give a huge, outstanding applause to every one of y'all that really helped us out and served the community well that evening. But one thing we'd like to do is recognize some of the other agencies that we had respond that evening. If you can, whenever I say the department, just please come up, whoever from that department, and stay up here if you will, and then we'll get a photo with the commissioners thereafter. But this is certificate of recognitions presented to each of these departments in grateful recognition of your valuable service to Camden County. Your contributions are truly appreciated, and it'll be presented this 18th day of February 2025. Signed, the chairman. This is for the Camden County Emergency Management. If you'll come and grab this if you can, and stay up here. To Camden County E911. I want to say something real quick about 911. I think a lot of times people don't really realize the things that they go through. We talk about first responders all the time, and I think sometimes dispatchers, unfortunately, they don't get called out enough. But, I can tell you some of the phone calls that they get are hysterical. I mean, to be able to listen to, well, I say hysterical, I don't mean hysterical laughing, I'm sorry, that was the wrong word. I mean like insanity. It's literally where people are, screaming at the top of their lungs and they don't know what's going on and they're waiting for somebody to come and respond. And just to be able to listen and to be able to guide that person on the other end of that line, to some level of safety. It's amazing. The people that do that day in and day out, my hat's off to them. I don't know how they do it. It's just, it's beyond belief. So appreciate everything that you all do. To the Camden County Sheriff's Office, who actually took care of the active shooter, we really appreciate that. Thank you. Kingsland Police Department. Commissioners, if you can, we'd like for you to come down and we'll get a photo of each of these agencies. And then from there, we'll recognize the rest of our fire rescue. Commissioners, this is to recognize the rest of our Kingsland and Camden County fire personnel. As I call your name, if you're here, please come up. There's some that may be on duty this evening that may not be able to attend, and we'll get their certificates to them. This is a certificate of recognition, and this is the same for each of these individuals. In grateful recognition of your valuable service to Camden County, your contributions are truly appreciated. From what happened on the events of January 8th. This is presented this 18th day of February 2025. Signed the chairman. This is for Clarence Zip Amarine. He's not here this evening? Okay. Deputy Chief Lisa Boyette. Thought I saw her. Lieutenant Stephen Cheek. Captain Christopher Goebel. I'm sorry, I may mess this one up. Aaron Kadlubowski? I promised myself I was going to try to get all these right. Captain Carolyn Mills. Christopher Pabst. Lieutenant Kenyatta Smith. Chief Smith. You don't want me to call you Flip, do you? You don't want me to call you Flip? Division Chief Stuart Sullivan. Captain Travis Swan. Battalion Chief Christopher Williams. See, okay. He's not here this evening.
Can't tell if they're here or not now.
These next few are for Kingsland Fire, who actually responded to the scene as well. Deputy Chief William Carrera. Bill actually drove into the scene unknowingly. Andrew Snell. And Christopher Strobridge. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Your efforts don't go unnoticed. We want you all to know that. And there's many more that are not here this evening, from the Sheriff's Office, 911, even members from St. Mary's. It was one of the biggest scenes I think I've ever seen, and I think all of our guys, the GBI, everybody, State Patrol, they did an amazing job responding and really assisting everybody in the community and really reinforcing what it means to be true and honorable, courageous public safety officials, and we appreciate every one of y'all this evening. Thank you. Oh, did I miss him? Captain Andrew Smelly, Smellet. I don't have his here. I don't have yours here, but we'll get you one. Come on up. And then we'll get a photo with the commissioners as well. We'll try.
I'm not tall enough.
Y'all come on down. May have to stand on the sides.
All right, that event is something I hope and pray never happens again. We'll move on to the next presentation. It's kind of hard following that. But this is for the last 8 years, I've served on the St. Mary's River Management Committee. And John Myers used to serve on it, and he's no longer on there anymore, so I got to step up and give the reports. So the St. Mary's River Management Committee, for those that don't know it, is an intergovernmental organization composed of elected and appointed members from the 4 counties along the St. Mary's River in Georgia and Florida. You have Charlton, Camden, Nassau, and Baker counties. The committee meets monthly to develop and implement strategies for managing the river's natural and economic resources. In 2024, the committee continued its mission to protect and enhance the St. Mary's River. This annual report highlights key initiatives and challenges in land use, water quality, water quantity, regulation, and partnerships across the 4 counties within the watershed. The committee monitors the impacts of the development, such as the Exit 1 Radiant development in St. Mary's, to ensure minimal impact on the river. Some of the key focus areas of concern for me is public access. Efforts to improve public access along the river ongoing. Georgia Department of Natural Resources is replacing the Temple Creek boat ramp in Camden, and that includes the removal of the old restrooms. The Blue Bridge project property is an issue that's expected to be resolved this year, enabling Camden to move forward with that project. Charlton County is securing land around the Camp Pinckney boat ramp for future enhancement. Baker County is working to rebuild the areas of St. Mary's Shoals Park that was damaged by extreme flooding during the past hurricane season. Water quality continues to be a priority. Several of the municipalities within the watershed are upgrading their aging water systems. However, septic tanks maintenance remains a significant challenge. Charlton County has the highest number of fecal bacterial impairments, with Spanish Creek and Clay Branch identified as priority areas. Charlton is using a successful approach that Camden used, where a 319 grant helped reduce the fecal bacterial impairments in the Temple Creek area. This was replacing and modifying septic tank systems. As development continues in the watershed, the committee will monitor impacts to ensure minimal harm to the river and its tributaries. St. Mary's River Management Committee collaborates with organizations like the St. Mary's River Keeper, the Georgia Environmental Protection Division, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, to safeguard the river. And the committee remains committed to the St. Mary's River through the continued collaboration and public engagement and policy advocacy. A full copy of the 15-page report was emailed to everybody, and it'll be part of the records as well. Thank y'all. All right, this brings us to our first public comment section of the night. We'll limit it to 3 minutes and agenda items only at this time. Are there any registered speakers, Kate?
The only one I have for the first public comments, oh, I'm sorry. This would actually be for the second public comments. Yes, I don't have anything for the first.
Anybody from the public wish to speak before the board? All right. Agenda items only right now. Thank you. All right, hearing none, this time we need to jump through some hurdles. We need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and convene a public hearing number 1.
Make a motion to adjourn a regular meeting and convene a public hearing.
I'll second.
We got a first and a second, convene the first public hearing. All in favor? All right, we're in the first public hearing, and this is to receive comments from the public regarding the intent to opt out of the statewide adjusted base year ad valorem homestead exemption.
And I do have a brief presentation
Okay?
that we've seen. This will be the 4th time, but
Yes.
I'll try to keep it as brief as possible.
Will
So-
there be a test?
Yes, there will be. Yes. So this is just a presentation of what the HB 581 is about, and it starts out with what we have existing right now, which is an exemption freeze on property tax values. This went into effect or it was passed by the taxpayer in 2006 and went into effect with the tax year 2007 from Senate Bill 496, and it freezes your property value at your base year, and the base year is the taxable year immediately preceding the taxable year in which the exemption is first granted. So it's really important to know that you need to, or a homeowner needs to apply for a homestead exemption with the tax assessor's office to get this. But this is the existing exemption. It's frozen. So if you bought your house in 2006, your value is frozen at that from 2006. If you do make improvements to the house, the improvement is added to the base year value. And this is the savings for the taxpayer since 2007, having that exemption in place. And the total cumulative value is over 32 million. And you could see on the right hand of the chart, the last 3 years, the digest value has really increased. So you may see that your property or the fair market value of your home has increased significantly, but you're still paying taxes at that base year from whenever that was, whether or not it was 2007 or 2016, et cetera. So even in the last 3 years, the savings to the taxpayers in Camden County was about $13 million and cumulative $32 million over that period of time since 2007. And what HB 581 is about, it's something that the state legislator entered into, and it went into effect January 1st. And what it does, it was supposed to address the rapid increase of value of people's homes and protect the taxpayer. And what HB 581 does is it just increases it annually up to the consumer price index. So really, it's similar to the inflation rate. So that's where their freeze comes into effect. But what we currently have in the county is really better than that because we're frozen. We don't even increase it incrementally to a CPI value. So just comparing the two, they're completely similar with that exception. The current one is a freeze. The floating homestead goes up every year up to the consumer price index. So really what we have in place right now is the greater benefit to the taxpayer. And this is just a summary of just what I've been saying, that we currently have a freeze. All the other exemptions do stay in place, the senior exemption, any other kind of exemptions that are out there. So it wouldn't replace anything, but it's certainly not better than what we currently have. So all counties or municipalities are automatically opted into the program or into this exemption, and what the county has to do is actually opt out of it. And we're in that opt-out period, which is from January 1st to March 1st. So that's the purpose of this. We've properly advertised your intent to opt out of this, which was determined at a work session. So we've advertised it, and this is the third public hearing regarding this. So, and we do have to file a resolution if that's the decision by March 1st. And does anyone have any questions?
And the school board exemption follows our exemption automatically, I believe, so.
I don't know that.
I think it does.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, the only question I have, and it's just for clarity, on our freeze, say you got a house worth $100,000, you're gonna pay taxes on the 40 grand because you pay tax on 40%, right?
Correct. You're paying taxes on 40% of the fair market value.
Now, if I come and I add a room onto my house and say that room appraises at $20,000, I don't pay taxes on 20, I still pay taxes on 40%.
40% of the 20,000.
Okay, I just wanted.
The 20,000, I believe, gets added on to the fair market value of your home because that's what it increased in value, but then you're taxed at 40% of that value.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another added benefit. We were thinking the other day that it reset the whole value of your house, but talking to the chief appraiser, that's not the case. So it's just, you add the extra value, and that's it. It doesn't reset the whole value of the house. So that's another huge benefit to the taxpayer. Any other questions? Anybody from the public wish to speak in favor of this item? Anybody wish to speak in opposition? All right. Seeing no takers, this time we need a motion to adjourn the public hearing number 1 and convene public hearing number 2.
So moved.
A second.
We got a first and a second. All in favor? All right, Joey, you're up.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, I'm asking you to consider a request for an alcohol license to Katik Patel with Triperia LLC, doing business as Waverly Minute Market. Now, this license will be for retail malt beverages, beer, and wine. This property is located in District 1 at 24295 US Highway 17 in Waverly. Now, the applicant has completed all application and necessary requirements for this request, so therefore staff would recommend approval.
Anybody from the board got any questions? Anybody from the public wish to speak in favor of this item?
Isn't this an existing license already, Joey? Or has
Come-
been?
Come up to the podium, Ricky.
If I'm not mistaken, hadn't this license been there for a while? Or did it expire or something?
It was under a different owner.
Yeah.
They changed owners, and it expired January 1, and he didn't apply until recently.
Okay. I was just wondering. I didn't think another building had been built out there, so, yeah, I'm all for it. Thank you, Joey.
Anybody else wish to speak in favor? Anybody wish to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none. Now we need a motion to adjourn public hearing number 2 and reconvene the regular meeting.
I'll second.
Got a first and second to convene the regular meeting. All in favor? Okay, you're back up, Joey.
Thank you again, Chairman. Tonight, I'm asking you to consider a request for an alcohol license to Katik Patel with Triperia LLC, doing business as Waverly Minute Market for retail malt beverages, beer, and wine. Staff would recommend approval on this request.
Can I get a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the alcohol license for Katik Patel at the Waverly Minute Market.
I'll second it. This is approved alcohol license. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thanks, Joey. All right, Seth, you're doing this next one?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioners. So I'm coming before you for a resolution to adopt the legislative priorities for the 2025 state legislative priorities, and I'm going to just hit some highlights. If y'all will go to the second page, thank you. So the first legislative priority that we have for the state is increasing LMIG funding, which is our local maintenance improvement grant funding. For those who don't know, we received those funds from the state of Georgia to resurface, rehabilitate, and improve our road system here in Camden County. And if you remember last year, due to the budget surplus, which we have again this year with the state, they doled out some of those funds to counties without a match for LMIG funding, and so we're asking the state to do that again this year. The next item is increasing the state bidding threshold, and this is in reference to public works contracts. Currently, right now, any project that's over $100,000 has to go out to competitive bid, and we are asking for this to be increased for $250,000 just to speed up the processes of procurement. I will say that there's a bill with this, and it's moved out of committee and should be going up for a vote pretty soon. Next, this is one of the items that has the most local impact per se, is requiring state agencies to give notice of intent if properties are going to come off county tax rolls. The reason for this is they're a state agency that is purchasing land in large quantities along the coast, and this is to ask for them to give us the heads up that they're going to take this property off our tax rolls. That way that we can accommodate for planning. Next is reimbursement for EMS services. We push for this every year, but this is for asking for a 10% increase in the reimbursement rate for the ambulance service. Next is mental health reform. Like the previous item, we pushed for this last year. If you remember, every county in Georgia, all 159 counties, signed on to House Bill 520, our letter of support to support mental health reform in the state of Georgia. Unfortunately, that was not signed into law, but we are going to continue to push for mental health reform in the state of Georgia. And lastly is the Rural Site Development Initiative funding. Our JDA was notified a month or two ago that there was no funding left for Camden County, and so we are asking the state to put some money from their budget surplus towards that initiative. These legislative priorities are pretty nonpartisan and will greatly help the county out. And so I know I've worked with a few of you on these, and I ask for your support tonight to adopt these priorities so we can take them to Atlanta. I do know that Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Cheek will be in Atlanta next week advocating on behalf of the county. Thank you.
Anybody from the board got any questions or concerns on these?
The one,
Well, let's get a motion on it first. Can I get a motion on it?
I move that we approve our 2025 legislative priorities.
I'll second.
We got a first and second to adopt the legislative priorities. Now we'll open it up for discussion.
All right, for clarity, just to make sure, this increased state bidding threshold, raise it from 100 to 250, that will have an impact on local businesses as well, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, because that was a big deal in the sense that our local businesses had a hard time competing with the billion-dollar businesses outside of our county, so
Absolutely.
thank you, Seth.
Well, Seth, just to be clear, even though we're increasing the limit, we still have to get bids. It just takes the public bid process out.
Yes, that's correct. We still have to do our procurement procedure that's highlighted in our financial policies. So we have to get a minimum of 3 bids.
Okay, on the third one, that's, DNR has been coming into the coastal counties and buying up large chunks of property. That's what's driving that. Some of these other counties that are not affected, I don't see them supporting it, but we can try.
That's right. So we brought this forth at the legislative policy update the ACCG did for South Georgia, and it wasn't voted as a high priority, but it was voted on as a priority. And like you mentioned, it really is relative to the coastal counties. I know us and McIntosh County are the big players in this, just due to the amount of coastal land that we have east of I-95. And so like the Ceylon property, that was an example, that purchase of the WMA was a big push behind this.
Now, Charlton County and Ware County might be affected with the potential expansion of the Okefenokee National Wildlife, but that's a federal thing, not state. So.
And just for understanding, again, even on this one here, the Ceylon property, how many acres is that?
Oh, Commissioner, I don't want to lie to you. Sean, do you know the exact answer to that?
The initial acquisition was over 16,000 acres, and now it's grown to over 25,000.
Which the county used to get tax money off of that property.
Correct. I mean, it was in CUVA and FLIPA, but we still receive tax dollars, us and the
Receive
school
some.
board. Yeah, we still
Once
receive
they
something.
take it over,
Yeah, once the state acquired it, there's nothing. So I think, 2018, we were receiving roughly $100,000 on the 16,000 acres. That was not the total acquisition that they later acquired, but, and that was undeveloped land. So, if it was developed, you think about 16,000 acres, what type of potential developments could be there? The digest could have grown considerably. So that's kind of the argument there.
and one thing too is in trying to lower taxes, when you've got a tax digest that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm up to that, but you got a tax digest that's 80-20, which means 80% of our taxes come from homeowners and 20% come from small businesses, medium businesses, and maybe a few larger businesses if we can find them. That's why it's so critical that we start paying attention to this kind of stuff to try to have more industry in our local community. So if you hear that, then recognize that. It's vital for us, so.
So,
And with all the federal property that's in the county, I think the federal government pays us only $58,000 a year for Kings Bay and Cumberland Island, so, good.
no, I was just going to clarify. So without this in place, it makes it really hard for us to budget and plan for the future because we don't know if it's going to be, bought up right from underneath us.
100%.
The Ceylon tract, the notice that I received, I can't speak for others that were here at that time, but the notice I received was a 2-week notice from the state that they were requiring 16,000 acres. So that was a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
And that was probably the highest developable property in Camden County.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to the appointment of several independent boards. We'll start off with the Planning Commission for District 3. You got anybody, Cody?
Yes, sir. I would like to nominate Mr. Ricky Manning from Bullhead Bluff.
Second.
We got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? All right, welcome to the team, Ricky. All right, this brings us to the appointment of St. Mary's River Management Committee. Can I get a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Cassandra Turpin to the St. Mary's River Management Committee.
I'll second that. This is to appoint Cassie Turpin to the St. Mary's River Management Committee. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, this brings us to item number 5, the adoption of the resolution to opt out of the homestead exemption. Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to opt out.
I'll second it. This is a motion to opt out of the homestead exemption, House Bill 581. Any discussion?
I more just so have a question so I can make the best decision possible. If any entity opts out in Camden County, we automatically lose the opportunity to get that 1% sales tax to kind of offset that. So there's
You
really
would-
no
you would only-
benefit for staying opted in, is that correct?
Well, you would, yeah, so we would be unaffected by it, whether we opted in or out. The reason why it affects us is because the cities do not have a form of a homestead freeze or any type of floating homestead freeze. The fact that they do not have that and then they chose to opt out will negate the floss in its entirety.
And I don't think the intent was for a county that has a homestead freeze currently to be able to tax the taxpayers more to recoup something that we have been doing without, so. All right, we got a motion and a second to opt out. All in favor? All right, this brings us to item number 6. Are you doing that, Sean, or Keith, you want to do it?
I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. I did submit a written proposal, but I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have concerning the proposal. The District Attorney's Office received the renewal of a VOCA grant, a federal grant, Victims of Crime Act grant, that goes toward paying the salary and benefits of victim advocates. We have 2 victim advocates here in Camden County. They perform the function of basically informing victims of their rights under the criminal justice system, advising them of court proceedings, referring them for services should they need services, mental health counseling, that type of thing. They help them in applying for victims' assistance compensation with the Victims' Compensation Board, State Board. They do a lot of things. Currently, we have 2 victim advocates here. They're totally on the county payroll. You're paying their full cost right now. I'm proposing to provide funding from this grant to Camden County, which will offset that cost, where part of their cost will be coming from this federal grant. In exchange for that, what I'm asking the board to do is to give me a budget offset in the amount of funds that I provide to Camden County or disperse to Camden County of these grant funding that will allow me to hire, create a position or my opportunity to fill a vacant position that we currently have in the DA's office. Currently, we did have an intake clerk that was previously working under, being paid under a federal grant, an ARPA grant that we had gotten through the Administrative Office of Courts. That grant ended January 31 of this year. So that position is, the person who was occupying that position left the office before the grant ended. So that's a position that we have vacant. It's not a position that's funded under the current budget. However, with the VOCA grant, we receive, the grant as an annual grant that we have in the total amount of $132,493 annually. We get quarterly payments of that. For the first fiscal year quarters of Camden County, 1, 2, and 3, it's $33,180. For quarter 4, it'd be $32,953. I'm basically proposing to disperse about half of that money to Camden County in exchange for a budget offset that would then allow me to fill that intake clerk position. Now, this position is very important to the functioning of our office. You know, nothing gets resolved in a criminal case until it gets to a prosecutor. Nothing gets to a prosecutor until we have a file opened and it's assigned. The intake clerk is the person in our office that initiates this process. That's the person who receives the warrants from the sheriff's office that comes in multiple times a week. Everybody who gets arrested, if it's a felony, it comes to our court, and misdemeanors, if it's an arrest, come to our court too. That comes into our office. Without an intake clerk, that falls on the backs of the 2 legal assistants that we have in the office, which means the time that they have to spend in opening case files is time that they're not spending getting the information that they need to get from the sheriff's office, the police departments, and other agencies to get to the prosecutor so they can make a decision on a case. Essentially, without an intake clerk, the whole process slows down. The slower the process goes, the longer people are in jail, the more it costs the county. And so what I'm proposing is a way in which, basically a win-win. It's a way in which we can fill this intake clerk position so that we can, the process can be speeded up, and we can process these cases more quickly, reach a resolution more quickly, and it won't cost Camden County a nickel. Now, it's going to require an intergovernmental agreement that you're going to have to authorize whereby you agree to apply the funds that's received toward the payment of salary and benefits of the victim advocates in the office. That's accomplished very simply by me making a direct deposit into your payroll account, a ledger entry being made, should you want to do that, of the amount that's put in there, and then you can put a ledger entry when the money goes out. Very simple way of handling that. And I can prepay that, and we'll agree to prepay that at the beginning of every quarter. And I will prepay you, once we enter an agreement, I'll go ahead and make you the quarterly payment for the first quarter of this year. So essentially Ms. Gonzalez has done some calculations to indicate what the cost of that is. That may have been provided to y'all, what that total cost is annually of $65,691.50. Annual cost. That would be the same amount if you were budgeting the position that you would put on this position at the annual salary of $33,000 plus benefits. And so if I was coming before you as a budget proposal, asking you to put this in a budget, let's say next fiscal year, that's the amount you would budget for this position. So what I'm asking you to do is basically to receive the money that I'm offering you and simply giving me a budget offset so I can hire a person that I need in the office so I can do a better job for Camden County and its citizens. And the intergovernmental agreement, if there's any concern what happens if the funding goes away, well, the disbursement goes away and the position goes away, very simply. We got the funding for this year, so if the funding goes away, the position goes away. So there's no downside to the county, and that can be put in the intergovernmental agreement. Because what you're doing now, different than what you did before, is you're dispersing payroll directly to the DA's employees. You're not giving me money. You're not dispersing money, invoicing me, and then asking me to repay you. What the previous situation was, you were dispersing money to me for their salaries and benefits, dispersing money to them, and then invoicing me for what you've already dispersed to them. Well, that's been done away with. You're dispersing money directly to the employees that have already been budgeted. So there's no way that money would be dispersed that you haven't authorized under this procedure. So I ask you to authorize this, to accept this money, which would then, with a budget offset, allow me to hire this person or this position, fill this position. Be happy to answer any other questions that y'all might have.
All right, anybody got any questions for him?
about a year ago when we met and we started talking about overcrowding in the jail, is Sheriff Cheney still in the room? Okay, I didn't see you. And we still are overcrowded in the jail, am I correct? Okay, I think yesterday when I asked Chief Watson, I guess he's chief, did I say that right? Okay. How many he had, I think he said 154, which the max is 148. You know, to me, anything that we can do that will speed up the process, that you guys, we don't have, the taxpayers, if we can, bond these folks out, send them home to mama and let mama buy their meals instead of us paying for them, you know? I think that's important to look at. And if this helps you streamline what you're doing, and number one, the county doesn't pay a dime to do it, if that's what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing it right. The county doesn't pay for it to do it, and at the end of the year, if you don't get the same grant again next year, then it's your responsibility from that moment on, not ours. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, absolutely. What would happen at that point, the way the payroll's being dispersed now directly from the county, the intergovernmental agreement would say I would have to prepay at the beginning of the quarter the funding that would authorize that salary to be paid. If you don't receive that payment ahead of time, you just don't disperse the money for that position. I let the person go.
Okay. That's what I wanted clarity in that, so that our taxpayers are not paying any more money as far as Camden County.
They would not be.
And hopefully reduce the population in the jail or in the public safety complex, if I'm going to say it right.
Or at least reduce the time that people are spending there, because even if we can't reduce the total numbers, if we can reduce the time an individual spends, then that person is costing less to the county.
Well, if you rotate them out quicker, it will save us money, so, okay.
Keith,
Yes, sir.
thank you for being here, sir. How effectively does an intake clerk actually move the process along? I know you say they take initial warrants from the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Just based off of like the caseload from last year and the cases filed, I mean, what percentage can we see as far as an increase of having
Well,
this
I
individual?
can't quantify it. I can tell you this, is that the intake clerk is essential to the operation of the office, because if a file's not open, it doesn't get to a prosecutor and nothing's happening. Those cases are backing up and are at a standstill until somebody else in the office can perform that function. Like I said, we have 2 legal assistants. Those legal assistants, they get the information from the sheriff's office, the reports, the body cams, the video cams, things of that nature, to get into the file for the prosecutors to be able to review, evaluate a case, and then pursue a prosecution if it's warranted. Without that information, the prosecutor that case doesn't move. If that legal assistant is having to also open files and take time away from their day to also open files, that then takes away from their ability to get that information to the prosecutor that they need to make a decision and to prosecute the case or not, as the case may be.
By us entering into this agreement, will this help significantly reduce the backlog we're currently experiencing here in Camden
I
County?
can't tell you whether or not, I can tell you that it will significantly affect our ability to process the cases that are coming in.
That's fair, thank you.
Because if we're not able to process the cases at the rate that they're coming in, there's a backlog. There's always going to be a backlog, Commissioner Smith, because there's no way for us to prosecute the cases and get a resolution as fast as they're coming in. I don't have the numbers to give you here, but the number of warrants that come into our office on a weekly basis, there's no way that we're resolving those the next week. So there's a backlog that exists and will always exist to some extent because of there's no way to resolve a case as fast as they're coming. But what it will do is allow us to process those cases faster as they're coming in and at least try to keep up with the cases as they're coming in. And we always prioritize the jail cases, by the way, with regard to that. But if a case is sitting, waiting for the information to get in there because number one, it hadn't been opened and nobody's been assigned to it, a prosecutor hadn't been assigned to it, and because the legal assistant is busy trying to get ready for court, get subpoenas out, get the discovery out to defense attorneys and the other things that they do, that line is stopped. Those warrants are sitting there in the office. So, this position helps us to keep moving the line, if you will. If you look at the criminal justice system as a line of individuals, defendants, and victims that are waiting for their day in court, the fewer people we have, the slower that line moves. The slower that line moves, the longer people are spending in jail. The longer time people are spending in jail, the more it's costing, whether it be just the cost, the daily cost of housing an inmate, or medical costs, or what it may be. So this is a way of trying to not only, I see it as a win-win. There's no downside to the county with regard to this and the way an intergovernmental agreement could be drafted, that in the event that the funds are not paid, then the money will not be dispersed for that position. And y'all have total control over whether or not that money's dispersed to the employee or not. We're not in a situation where y'all are dispersing money and invoicing me to repay it. That's the way it used to be. So I'd add, yes, Commissioner Cheek.
Can you give us a breakdown on the personnel that you assigned in Camden County specifically?
So specifically in Camden County right now, there's 3 state-paid assistant district attorneys that the state pays salary and benefits for. Of those 3 state-paid assistant district attorneys, Camden County is currently giving supplemental pay to 2 of those. Camden County there's a fully county-paid or county-funded ADA that works here as well, so a total of 4 ADAs. There's 2 victim advocates that are totally on the county payroll right now that you're paying the full cost of their salary and benefits. And there are 2 legal assistants and 2 victim advocates who are in the office right now. Previously, there was an intake clerk, and I'm trying to fill that vacancy.
And that $66,000 figure, that's basically what you're going to be bestowing upon the county to create this position, correct?
Correct. So the way we could draft up the intergovernmental agreement is I would disperse to the county no less than the amount of the calculated cost. It may end up being more than that. It depends. I'm talking to Wayne County about trying to work the same arrangement with them. And so right now, depending upon what their cost is, if their cost is less than half of the cost, any overage, I plan to give to Camden County. I've got it worded in the proposal as not less than the cost, because that's the best way I can do it right now until I enter into an agreement with Wayne County. But those talks are in the about to begin with regard to Wayne County along the same lines.
Mr. Higgins, is the VOCA grant going to come regardless of whether we enter into a budget offset agreement with you?
The VOCA grant money will come to the DA's office whether or not you enter into an agreement with me or not, but they will not come to Camden County without an intergovernmental agreement. The intergovernmental agreement is necessary for me to disperse funds to Camden County. It is necessary and required that the county government agree to disperse those funds for the purpose of the grant, basically toward victim advocate salaries and benefits.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room, if you will, without any disrespect to you or your office. The productivity of the DA's office in terms of prosecuted cases and successful prosecutions of people who, in the opinion of the public, and certainly my opinion, has not been very inspiring. We got ripped off in this county for millions of dollars, and basically nobody has paid the price. And that falls on your office, Mr. DA.
Well, Commissioner Goodman, with all due respect, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. And I've told you this before. You're talking about the PSA. And with regard to that, the district attorney's office, once I was elected, could not handle that prosecution. Could not ethically handle that prosecution because I, as defense counsel, before I got elected, I represented one of the defendants in that case. And ethically, to keep my bar license and to remain as an attorney. I can't jump from one side of the case defending somebody and then change to being their prosecutor.
Was it then not your responsibility to make sure that they did get prosecuted by somebody who could prosecute them? I remember Mr. Barnhill being tasked with some of that. We didn't get justice in Camden County. We certainly have a bad taste in our mouth about that issue. And I understand what you're saying from an ethical standpoint. We all get caught in those situations. But I think that there was a failure to pursue this. We found the one reason why we couldn't do it, rather than all of the ways and the reasons why we should and could do it, in my opinion.
Well, first
And
of all,
that's
it
what I'm
was-
being told by my constituents.
Well, first of all, it wasn't a decision to make whether or not it was going to be pursued or not. It was a decision made that I could not pursue it.
It was.
If I pursued that case, I would have been violating the ethical rules of being a lawyer. There was counsel appointed to that case upon that, prior to me even being elected DA, by the way, on that particular case. And I believe there was a request from the previous sheriff to the Attorney General's office maybe to take that over. But all of those things, that particular case is one for which I had no involvement, nor could I have any involvement in, based upon my prior representation of one of the defendants.
In speaking with the special prosecutor that was assigned that case, she told me there was not enough evidence to proceed charging anybody else. There was plenty of evidence to charge the dead person, but there wasn't enough to proceed with anything else. But that's a little off topic. We've recently increased through the last couple of years, we increased your budget 102%. So I understand Mr. Goodman's feelings about, lack of process getting stuff through the court. So.
Thank you.
With all due respect, Chairman Casey, I wouldn't let you know that prior to me being elected in 2021, that the district attorney's office had not asked for a budget increase for about 10 years, based upon my recollection. So we were already behind the 8 ball, if you will, being behind the 10-year of population growth that occurred in that previous 10-year period of time from about 2010 to 2021. So being behind the 8 ball already, yes, there was a need to add staff to the district attorney's office and add at increased percentages of that particular budget. So some of that was catch-up time, if you will, for a lack of, the county commission funded the DA's office as it was requested to do. I'm not faulting the county commission at all with regard to that. But it's incumbent upon me and anybody who holds my office as a placeholder to ask for what we need to get the job done. And I would be derelict in my duty if I didn't ask for those increases.
Yes. Any other discussion?
Just briefly, you've explained the intake clerk, and that'll help you get cases filed and properly started, but assuming that position's not there, and this may be a little off topic, but how can you work on the backlog?
So if I can't keep up with the cases as they're coming in, I can't work on a backlog. Because number one, we need to prioritize the jail cases, because that is where the taxpayers' money is being spent now. If somebody's in jail, that case is given priority, because that, number one, we've got a jail situation and jail population we try to keep down, to keep the costs down. And if we don't have the ability to keep up with that, there's no opportunity to address a backlog. Right now, in the district attorney's office down here in Camden County, their caseload is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600 cases per ADA. I can give you the exact figures. I didn't look at it today to let you know what their total caseload is. But I can, that's not something I came to address. I came to basically make a proposal of here's some money I can provide to the Camden County to help the DA's office, to help Camden County and its citizens, not just in cutting down on the jail costs, but getting those cases to court faster to help victims an intake clerk is going to help us do that. I can't quantify it, but it's just the way things work.
This is probably a topic for a different discussion, but with the personnel you have here now, can you reduce the backlog?
Right now, it's difficult. It's difficult due to the number of cases they have, and because of the number of cases they have, it's difficult for them to handle those cases. I can remember back when I was an assistant DA in Glenn County in early 1990s, my caseload was somewhere between 280 and 290 cases. It was overwhelming. It burned me out multiple times. It got me to looking to go try to find employment elsewhere. The higher the caseload, the less likely we are to retain people. People are going to leave because they get burned out. They're being overworked, overburdened, overstressed. And it's hard, as a law enforcement agency, it's hard to hire people and it's hard to retain people. And the higher the workload and the more stress, the harder it is to retain them. And the harder it is to get people to want to come on and be a prosecutor. So that's part of the difficulties that I find in even trying to have people in that office, even if we have vacancies as prosecutors. So right now with the caseload that they have, they're doing good enough to just keep their nose above water.
Mr. Higgins, is there a drop-dead date by which we have to commit to these funds to keep from losing them? Where I'm going with this, this is a very complex subject, and I think this body needs to work session it and develop a strategy. I don't feel prepared to adequately address this and give you the respect that you need, and also do the things that I think my constituents expect me to do. Mr. Chairman, do you feel like we could have a work session on this?
Yeah, we can do
And
that.
the answer to my question is,
There's no deadline, but I will tell you that, I am going to Wayne County, and you're one of 5 counties in this circuit. So there's not a drop-dead deadline on anything, but I'm going to cut a deal where I can cut the deal.
I really
I've
don't,
got the funding, and I need to give it to somebody. And if Camden County does not want $65,000 a year, I'm happy to go talk to somebody else and see if they'll take it.
If I may, are we actually gaining 65, or we're just budget offsetting?
No, you're actually, well, I would be dispersing to you no less than $65,691.50.
And we turn around and hire that employee to fill that position?
You would hire that employee at that position. However, like I told you before, you have 2 victim advocates here. And talking to Wayne County, depending upon what their cost is, since you have 2 and they have 1, anything that's in excess of that, I would plan to give to Camden County, to disperse to Camden County. Because you have 2, they have 1.
So the bulk of the work's going to be done in Wayne County if we're?
No. I have 5 counties. I'm a district attorney of a 5-county judicial circuit.
I understand.
Within that county, I have 4 separate offices. I have an office in Camden, I have one in Glenn, I have one in Wayne, I have one in Baxley. I've got victim advocates in Glenn County. I've got victim advocates in Wayne County. I've got victim advocates in Camden County. I have a state-paid victim advocate in Baxley. That's the only state-paid victim advocate I have.
Is this an intake clerk just for the Camden County office?
Yes. Yeah, we're talking about Camden County, being able to hire somebody here in Camden County to work for the benefit of Camden County and Camden County citizens without any cost to Camden County taxpayers. That would end up with a benefit to them.
Could we ask the sheriff and Nancy, what do you think? I mean, is that, nope, can't do it? Can it be done, is what I'm saying? Can this be done?
This is more of a budgeting thing for us to decide.
Yeah, I think this needs to go to a work session.
Okay. Never mind, sorry, guys.
If we do have a work session, Keith, would you be willing to come and answer questions there as well?
I'll be happy to, but like I said, I'm going to be talking to Wayne County shortly, and I'll be talking to other counties as well. So I'll be happy to come to whatever work session you schedule.
Well, I have to agree with Commissioner Goodman. I think this warrants further discussion through a work session or whatever mechanism we decide to do that.
Thank you for your time.
Then I make a motion that we table this pending a work session.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, we got a first and second to table this for a work session. Any more discussion? All in favor? We'll move that to a work session. Thank you, Keith. All right, Chuck, you're up.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I come before you this evening to request approval to award the EOC 911 Design and Engineering Services to McCall Architecture out of Valdosta, Georgia, in the amount of $532,000. This is a SPLOST 8 fund for this project. A little background. In 2019, the voters of Camden County demonstrated strong support to the improvement of public safety infrastructure by approving SPLOST 8, which allocated $4.1 million for the construction of a new combined EOC 911 facility. The decision to move forward with this project was driven by urgent need, by really primarily having a very not purpose-built, kind of a retrofitted current facility that really had been outgrown and is showing age and had some design flaws that really did not allow us to fully get the benefit of an EOC. So the strategic location selected to leverage this infrastructure is the 5.4 acres, which is the location for the Resiliency Operations Center, and there is a great synergy between the Resiliency Center and between an EOC 911 facility. The project will provide for a robust facility built to FEMA's best practices and standards. These design considerations will ensure the building's long-term functionality, that is a self-contained 24/7 facility where today, in theory, we could have to close and abandon the existing EOC based on potential wind loading of an approaching hurricane. And the 911 center location, as you're very well aware, for the sheriff's complex, which is beyond, in terms of aging out and being poor infrastructure. So that facility is not able to support this very critical 911 operation. By selecting the company we're picking, which is McCall Engineering, we also have the benefit of having just gone through the design and engineering for the Department of Health Clinic located here in Camden County. And by all accounts, at all levels of staff, there was a lot of appreciation for the work of this particular A&E firm. And I think everybody was very pleased with both their ability to control cost and to provide all of the deliverables. Staff recommends approval, and I'll take any questions you have.
All right, can I get a motion on this item?
I'll move to approve that, Chairman.
I'll second it.
All right, we got a first and second to approve the contract award for the EOC 911 Center. Any discussion?
If I may. So after the design phase and everything, do we have an estimated completion date? I know that's so far out.
Yes, so those milestones really do start to be built out once the design engineering firm is on deck and we're starting to front load the requirements and what we expect those deliverables to be. I think realistically, just at a macro level, from notice to proceed, they're on deck. We're actually in meaningful planning. You're probably in that, for a final on the project, you're probably 18 months to 24 months. I think design phase, we could probably account for maybe 4 to 5 months, I think reasonably. You may know better than me. Commissioner Cheek?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate, yeah.
So.
Yep.
Thank you.
And, looking at the bid tabulation, since McCall's got a great reputation, just did a project here, it's easy to make the decision when they're the lowest cost also.
And also they are the lowest cost, yes, sir. There was a competitor that is doing some work up in Brunswick that was very close, but again, this is the lowest conforming bid, and by all accounts, scored out the best by staff.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, this brings us to the calendar.
There's no changes to the calendar.
All right, County Administrator comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a couple things to echo McCall Architecture. They are the ones that are responsible for our new health department. If you have had the chance to ride by recently, yesterday, they just started paving the parking lot. I think they're finishing that up here soon. It's an amazing facility. I would love to set up a time for each of you all to tour, if not all together. So we'll try to look for that here pretty soon. They're nearing the end of construction, so it's a beautiful facility. I think it'll really assist our health departments once we consolidate all three offices together in that one office. I think they're going to be very happy there, as well as a lot of our citizens. The other thing, you mentioned the boat ramps earlier, Chairman. So DNR was actually pouring the slab today to go into the river there at St. Mary's River at Temple Landing. So they're expecting to push the ramp in next Monday. So hopefully here within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have a brand-new boat ramp that we'll be able to open up to the citizens. That is a lot safer for boater access in and out of the St. Mary's River, so we're really excited about that project. As far as another announcement, just key dates coming up, we are having a special election on March 18th for SPLOST 9. For those of you, I think most of us here know that, but those that are not here and not in attendance, the dates for that election, the early voting is going to begin on Monday, February 24th. This will take place at the Camden County Annex, which is right there off of Gross Road and Highway 40. It'll start Monday, February 24th through Friday, March 14th, weekdays 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. There will also be a Saturday voting opportunity for March 1st and 8th at that same facility. There will also be an office here, the Woodbine Elections Office, where voting can take place from Monday, March 3rd through Friday, March 7th. There will also be a Saturday voting opportunity here at the Elections Office on the 8th of March from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The other opportunity is down in St. Mary's at the Welcome Center, and that voting opportunity is from Monday, March 10th to Friday, March 14th, weekdays 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and then also Saturday, March 8th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If anybody has any questions regarding that election, feel free to reach out to our office or the Elections Office for that information, and that's all I have, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Jackie, you got something?
I do want to address one concern that I had from the February 4th meeting. There wasn't a vote that took place at the end of the meeting, and I did want to address that. As far as positions to the various county boards are concerned, the appointments for each district's opening should be made by the district representative. To this end, the vote at the end of the meeting was really a nullity. So the appointment to the Board of Elections for District 3, I'm going to refer to Judge Sweat for consideration as was originally discussed in the board meeting. And I just wanted to address that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to our final public comment section. We'll limit it to 3 minutes. Any registered speakers, Katie?
I do. The first is via a speaker request form, and her name is Donna Schwartz. Her comment will be submitted in the minutes, which are the official record of the board, and you'll see those when they come out for the next meeting. And the first I have registered here tonight is Kelly Stofflet.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Stofflet, 84 Oyster Cove, St. Mary's, Georgia. At the February 4th Commissioners meeting, District 3, Mr. Smith stated that he had publicly stated his distrust of my decision-making on the County Board of Elections and registration. Furthermore, he cited that I voted to not reinstate the voting rights of the citizen in question. This is incorrect. Additionally, several video clips have been circulated on social media affirming this without including the final vote dated October 25th, 2023, allowing the public to assume incorrect information and outcomes. My final vote to reinstate the voting rights of the citizen in question was excluded. Additionally, the Board of Elections and Registration meeting minutes clearly show that I voted twice to reinstate the citizen in question right to vote in Camden County. I do wish you would issue a public apology, Mr. Smith, because you have damaged my reputation as a volunteer on the Board of Elections.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else registered? No, sir. Anybody else want to speak before the board? Come on up, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Brother Chairman. Members of the faculty. I know y'all know my name is Moses Wynn Jr. I'm from north end of the county, and I'm still asking for help on my road. It's been raining a little bit. It's starting back to get messed up again, and I don't know what I'm gonna have to do, but I keep coming up here and asking, and I was looking at the road, and there's a stop sign at the end of the road, and there's a street name at the end of the road, which is William Place. And so I didn't put it there. The county must have put it there. I don't work for the county. And so that means that the county got access to the road. So, and by that guy blocking the road off, that, I don't understand that. I just don't believe that. Something can be did by that. But anyway, I just want to ask you a question. If you do help me, will it cause you to get in trouble? Or will something bad happen if you help me?
Well, if we're not supposed to use public money on private property, that's the issue. That road is a private road.
But we are not private people.
But the road is. That's the issue. So.
We are still tax-paying people that live on the road.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Greg Housen. I live on Temple Landing Road. I don't really know where to go with this. I've been looking for 6 hours at least in the last 2 days to try and answer my own questions. But this came out about the thing behind Cracker Barrel for the ballpark. Anyway, JDA going to do that or get involved. But the guy that was involved here from that section asked them, I don't know, I think, blah, 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 which is fine. That's another thing. But and then you borrowed $10 million for this and $10 million for that. And where I'm going back to, the $10 million got in my head. I can't find the JDA in the org chart. Okay, there's a planning and development that's a direct report to you. And then there's a thing with the sheriffs and the elected and the judges. And then underneath that is the JDA. But going in there, I can't find out where JDA gets their money. I can't find out where JDA spends their money. I've read all the bios, and I actually know somebody who's on it who is above reproach. But where I'm going to with this is that if you don't remember, back in September, JDA made their whole big thing that they vetted this guy for the Camden Inlet project. He had to jump through 9 steps before, and they took out a $10 million bond, the JDA did, for this guy, and he missed his first payment in September. And that, in September, the payment is interest and principal. And then next month, an interest payment is due. And their quote was that thank God they had the contingency funds in September to make the missed payment that this developer, JDI, defaulted on. And I've looked, JDI isn't anywhere on the internet. And his big statement in September when he was in the paper, oh, we're going to do this and that, and nobody's heard anything from him since. So in March, JDA's got to come up with some more money on this $10 million bond. Do they get the money from you guys? Is it coming out of our budget? And actually, okay, look, yellow light's on. I want to get some information on the JDA. Point me in the right direction.
JDA is funded by the county.
By who?
The county.
Okay, well, this gentleman said that they had some state money too that they were out of.
They get, the majority of their funding comes from the county.
Okay, so are you on the hook in March? What, hey, 10 million here, 10 million there?
From what I understand is if that developer defaults again on that bond payment, the JDA will foreclose on him.
Yeah, but if he's broke, they've already signed for the 10 million bucks. That's there. That's got to be paid for. So are we as citizens on the hook for it?
Well, the
be.
citizens gain the control of that property.
All right, this funding, are the numbers publicly available?
Should be, yeah.
Because I've looked everywhere. Do you know what they paid last September?
The JDA would have records of that. We don't, but the
So I
JDA
can
would.
contact the JDA and they have their own budgets and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay, their
It's an
website.
independent authority, so
Okay, their website doesn't say any of that. It has all their bios and their mission statement, but it doesn't tell how to get in contact with them. All right, thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
I have an apology for Ms. Stofflet. Should I make it from here or down there?
You can do it publicly or privately, whatever
Absolutely.
you want to do.
I'd like to do it publicly in the same manner that I was incorrect at the last meeting. My statements at the February 4th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting regarding the Board of Elections were unprepared and made in response to the unprecedented motion made by the chairman, essentially at the end of the meeting, to reappoint the District 3 representative to arguably one of the most important boards in Camden County. My recollection of the election board proceedings against Dr. Burnham at the February 4th, 2025 meeting that I made, specifically that the board member in question had violated Dr. Burnham's rights twice by refusing to vote to reinstate his right to vote, was incorrect. It is now my understanding that she only knowingly violated his rights once on October 19th, 23, when she voted to remove him from the voter rolls of Camden County. She did reinstate his right to vote at the October 25th meeting. Thank you.
Well, it takes a majority vote to do anything, so it's not just one person. But, all right. This time, we need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate and litigation.
Make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and convene an executive session for the purpose of the litigation and real estate discussions.
Second.
Got a first and second. All in favor? All right, we'll be back. Back from executive session, we need a motion to adjourn the executive session.
Make a motion to
Reconvene regular
adjourn the
meeting.
executive session and return to regular session.
Second.
Got first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, there was no action taken during the executive session. We just received some information. So with that said, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Second? All in favor? We're adjourned.
Happy anniversary, Ms. Bishop.
Today.